prison. Too far gone, never gonna sit and listen. This is optimism mixed with the best. You get it? What you're seeing is a beast in the flesh. I'm vetted. I don't need to try to speak for.
Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are live Friday night, February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day, to discuss a 2005 supernatural horror film, or as we know it, as the amazing DC character, Constantine. That's right, folks. We're going to be talking about the 2005 film Constantine. That's right. So this was directed by Francis Lawrence in his directorial debut, written by Jamie Delano, Gareth Ennis, and Kevin Broadbent, who was the story creator for the film as well. So he helped create the story and then was a co-writer with the screenplay writers. Of course, stars the titular amazing Mr. Keanu Reeves, the amazing Rachel Weisz, Tilda Swinton, Peter Stormare, Taylor Vance, to name a few that are in the film. And it's just one of those, really well done films that I personally think that it doesn't get enough recognition for how good of a film it is. It was a really great storytelling of the Constantine character, and Keanu Reeves played the hell out of the character as well. And I just don't think it gets enough, great, feedback from what I've seen. I know a lot of people love it, or a lot of people hate it, which is kind of funny because it's kind of one of those films I felt that did not do very well when it came out in 2005, but ended up getting a cult following years later. So it's kind of funny we're talking about this film this year because it's its 20th anniversary this year, which it's hilarious that it's been 20 years since 2005. To think that. I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe 2005 was 20 years ago. That means I've been on the East Coast for 20 years because I moved from California to the East Coast in 2005. So that's insane. But anyways, if you're familiar with the Constantine character, it is a DC Comics character that I think is a really fun character. And I've enjoyed the iterations they've produced in different versions of films and stuff like that. And it's just been really fun to see the different, types. And I feel this one is probably one of my favorites of all time. So, of course, we have on here the panel tonight. Of course, my Mr. Co-host, Mr. Jeff S. TrueKnowledge. How we doing, Jeff?
Happy Valentine's Day.
There you go, folks. Happy Valentine's Day. We also have Andres, the pop culture guy, with us tonight. How we doing, Andres?
Pretty swell.
Excellent, excellent. Of course, we have returning from the Black Liquid Collective podcast, Mr. Alan. How we doing, Alan?
I'm doing good. How's you guys doing?
Good. And then, of course, we have joining us Mr. Ryan from Beyond the Capes podcast. Welcome back, sir. How we doing?
Good to be here.
Excellent. Great to have you. All right, so we have a great panel for you tonight to talk this film. So let's just go around the table to get this started, really. Give me your first impressions of the Constantine film for yourself, the first time you watched it, and overall, what was your takeaway from it the first time you watched it? And I'll start with you, Alan.
To be honest, when I first watched it, I had no idea who Constantine was. I didn't know about the DC Comics or anything. And I went to watch it because of my brother. He's a big Keanu Reeves fan. So he's like, let's go watch it. And I had no idea what it was about. I went in like, yeah, Keanu Reeves, Point Break, I guess. And by the time I left, it was completely different. It was, I mean, I didn't understand it in the sense that even after I watched the movie, I still didn't know anything about it. And it wasn't until it came out like on video was really when I watched it again. And I was like, wow, I really like this movie. But even when I watched it at the beginning, it was like, I guess there was so much to absorb, because I didn't know. I just didn't know. That was basically it. Is that my dog?
No, that's my dog. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. I was making sure.
Nope, it's Dodge. Little Dodger-o. All right. Thank you, Alan. Going over to you, Ryan. Same question, sir. Your first time watching it, your thoughts overall on your first outing of it.
Oh man, I was so excited for this Any world where you could have Constantine and Batman meet up is a great world that I want to live in. Hellblazer was a great comic book. Just like Cyber, I love this character, John Constantine, in any form. I really love the NBC show. I think that was a great. That show just got butchered by NBC. They did a terrible job with that. That had the best, maybe Keanu or the best John Constantine, but this movie and going to see it had one of the best stories and how they got the plot done for it. It was just fantastic. Keanu Reeves gave us a kind of a different John Constantine than we get in the comic book. This cocky, arrogant English guy. Keanu Reeves played it straight laced, and I think he's the only one that could have done that story justice the way that he did it. I love this movie from start to finish. The Holy Shotgun will remain one of my favorite weapons of all time, guaranteed.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, that is a really cool weapon. I remember the first time seeing it in the movie, and I was just like, "That is freaking badass." That was just awesome. So yeah, I have to agree. Great weapon. All right, going over to you, Jeff. Same question. Your first time watching it, and kind of your overall thoughts on your first watch.
Well, I like what Ryan said. About how like what they decided to do with the direction of the plot, like how they crafted the film. The Constantine movie. I think they really did the movie service. Considering what that it was 2005. And there was no DCU footprint to like work off of at that point. You know what I mean? Like there was no basis to really work off of with a DC character like that. So for them to, to come up with the story that they do come up with, for the film, I think it's very inventive, really well thought out. My first watch would have been probably in 2005. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it at home, and I think I rented it probably, like at the rental store at Blockbuster or whatever, with my ex-wife, and I thought it was great. I noticed stuff about it now, like watching it now, like today, that I didn't understand watching it back then. There were some things that I kind of figured out now, that I didn't pick up then. But I've seen the movie several times throughout the years. It's a really good watchable film, when it comes on, like if you're flipping the channels and you come across Constantine, it's a really easy film to just watch, just because it just all the different elements it brings to the table, with the occult and everything like that, and magic and and spells and the hell and heaven, aspect and all that. If you dig that kind of stuff, this is a great film, I also did not know anything about John Constantine when I saw this film. I didn't know that it was a DC character or anything like that, because I never really read DC comics. I was always a Marvel comic guy, so I didn't actually realize that until way later on, until I first came across, actual John Constantine in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, back in 2020 or whatever. is when I think I finally discovered the character for the first time. So then I finally connected the two, and I think that, Alan's right. I think that Keanu pulls off a really good American version of what you would expect, an American version of John Constantine to be. But I still think it would have been cool if they would have done it in England, with a British actor or whatever. It would have been interesting to see what they would have done with that, But it was a movie I really liked when I saw it when I was younger. In my early 20s, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great film.
All right, excellent. Thank you. All right, Mr. Andres, the pop culture guy, your thoughts, sir. Your first outing and your first overall thoughts on the film.
Sure. Just like everyone else, I was like, my family household are big Reeve fans, so we love The Matrix, and I seen every film of Reeve's filmography, and so Constantine was there, And I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I was a DC guy, so I wasn't really familiar with this character. Or I got to know him more from other shared universe, the Arrowverse. Of course, Constantine crossed over to Arrow a couple times. He knew, Green Arrow, and so I was like, oh, okay. I knew this character, and I did see the short-lived TV show, which was so great. And I agree with Ryan. It was so sad that they canceled it. It was like it had potential, but for those, don't worry about it because he did cross over to the Arrowverse and he did like stick around. He was in the show The Legends of Tomorrow. I didn't see the show, but I knew that he's there. So, so at that point, I was like, okay, he was a comic book character, and yeah, I'm agree with everyone that this is a fantastic. You had to think of it as an Elseworlds movie, a Elseworlds Constantine, where he's not British and it's done so well, and that's kind of cool. They did a really good job here. I mean, you think about back in the day, this is like the first supernatural superhero film we kind of got. This is like it predates Ghost Rider and some other ones, before we got mainstream. So for this film, they did a really good job of adapting it. I love the director, Francis Lawrence. If anyone recognizes him, he's the guy that did the Will Smith I Am Legend film. He also did the Hunger Game films from the Catching Fire up to the new recent one. I don't know what it is called, the Ballads of Snakes and Songs, something like that. He's a great director, and I'm surprised that this is his first debut, and you don't feel like that. Like you think it's a seasonal director directing this big budget, Reese film, and the fact that this is his first film is really impressive. I mean, he's very confident, and you can tell they are big fans of the character. Like the changes makes a lot of sense, and because you got a big star like Reeves, and I appreciate what they did here, and so they're not ashamed with the comic book stuff like the other 2000 films. So that's really impressive. So I love the film. I'm very excited to talk about it. It's definitely up there as really good like superhero film that no one talks about. Up there with Hellboy too. Don't forget about that. Hellboy is good too.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Yes, Hellboy is up there too as well with those types of characters, most definitely. Definitely in that kind of realm of supernatural horror thriller type of films, stuff like that. So I definitely agree there. But yeah, my first experience, I remember watching it. I believe it was on DVD. And it was, I think I rented it from Blockbuster at the time and watched it, and I just remember thinking it was the best film of 2005. I was just so blown away by it. I mean, it had my future girlfriend in it, future wife, Rachel Weisz. So that right there made it a 10 plus for me. And then Shia LaBeouf was in it, which was absolutely hilarious because he was kind of becoming big at that time. This was 2 years before he did Transformers. This was after he was doing Even Stevens, and he had just done that Dumb and Dumber prequel as well. So he was an uprising star there at the time. So this was kind of like one of his bigger breaks, I felt, and he was fantastic in it. And I just remember thinking this movie was just such a freaking awesome concept too, because I was not familiar with Constantine at all before I saw this film. I still have very little knowledge of Constantine except for what I've learned from Legends of Tomorrow and a little bit of research. But other than that, like I was not familiar with the character. I just thought the character was so freaking amazing. So I thought Reeves did a great job. So yeah, my first outing with it, I had a really great experience. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was just a really instant, great classic film. And that, yeah, Francis Lawrence definitely, he did not seem like this was his directorial debut. He seemed definitely like a seasoned director, and definitely it didn't feel like somebody was just taking their first chance at making a movie here. So I think that that is a good testament of time. And even 20 years later, this film still is really amazingly done, and it still holds up to this day. I think the graphics and everything are still amazing looking for 20 years old. I think that the story, the acting, all of it is all very well done still. And I would not say if somebody was to watch this film for the first time, I definitely think people could look at this and go, hey, this looks like a newer movie. This does not look like it's a 20-year-old film, you know, because if you look at some films, there are certain films that look so old and they're only 5 years old. And then there's films that are 30 years old that look newer than those films that came out 5 years ago. So it's kind of funny. This is one of those films I felt that definitely aged very well. And it does not seem like it's 20 years old. So I think that's pretty impressive. All right. So moving on from that, great job, everyone. So getting into the actual film itself. So the movie basically starts out, we're in Mexico, and a scavenger discovers the tip of the spear that pierced Jesus Christ. And after becoming possessed, takes it to Los Angeles. There, cynical occult expert John Constantine exorcises a demon from a young girl after witnessing its attempts to reach Earth through her. Something that should be impossible because of the treaty between heaven and hell. So we'll stop there before we get into it even more. I feel that's kind of like the beginning of the film, leading up to that exorcism. So what were you guys' thoughts on the beginning of this film? What do you feel about the introduction to Constantine, the introduction to kind of the demon world here, and kind of, you know, occultism and stuff like that? And like, what are your first initial thoughts on this beginning, you know, 20 years later? And this time we'll start with you, Andres.
I think the opening was really good. I mean, they set up everything right for a film, like setting up the tone, setting up the world we're going to be in for, you know, the next 2 hours, and like getting to know our main character, you know, John Constantine, and like just a few minutes does really good. Like one of these I actually liked about this film over a lot of films, that this film doesn't hold your hands. Like, here is the film, here's this, you know, occult detective or whatever you want to call John, you know, is trying to stop these demons to like cross over to, you know, the reality or Earth. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And you see the stakes and all that, and they like, this movie has the best dialogue, best exposition for like stuff that you need to understand, and they don't beat your head just like, you know, like these modern movies. And it's like so refreshing, you know, and it's great to see it. And like, you could tell visual storytelling, like, you know, you see when, you know, the scavenger, it gets the spear of destiny, and then you see that something has happened to him. And like, especially, what was it, like, he gets crashed with that car, which, by the way, that was shocking. That was really like very horror like. And then he just walks past like nothing has happened to him. And it's like, wow, okay, so this is like already a good hook for you to understand what's going on here. And then, you know, Mr. Reeves, he has not aged a bit. And like, I mean, this is like 2 years after the Matrix films have wrapped up, and so he still looks like, you know, Neo from the trilogy, but you know, it's just Constantine now. And it's great. He has great sense of humor. I like the comedy here in the film here, and I thought the design of the demon they're trying to exorcism for the girl is like really good detail. I agree with Cyber. The CGI is great from 20 years. I mean, like, compared to today's CGI, it's like very impressive. So overall, I think that the beginning really gets you like right into the universe and the story that we're going to see throughout the film, and it's really excellent. Great direction by the director, of course.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Moving over to Alan. Same question, sir. Your thoughts on the beginning?
I looked at it a little bit different because I didn't understand. I didn't know about the Spear of Destiny. You know, they don't explain it at the beginning. You know, they just basically show this guy pick up this thing and he just goes off, and then all this happens. And then when it goes to the, you know, you're like, it's not like I don't know what's going on. It's more like, hey, this is kind of cool. What's up with this? You know, more like it kind of like brought you in type of deal. And then the same thing with when they went to introduce John Constantine. You know, it was like, all right, is this guy an exorcist or is he a priest? What is he? You know, you just don't know. All you know, it's like the action is good on it. It's solid. It's like Andre said, if I'm going to go with 2 hours on this is going to be good, because they started it off good. They start basically with, it's kind of like The Simpsons. When they start The Simpsons, they start with one story and then they go into another story. So the beginning actually has nothing to do with the episode. That's kind of what they did. They started with the spear, which at the spear, it all comes out to the end. But then it goes from that to Constantine, and you kind of forget about the spear, but you don't know. I mean, in my case, I didn't know what the spear was. So it was it was like Audrey said, it was solid. It was they introduced the character. The one character, basically, they just introduced two characters and a demon. And I still didn't understand, you don't understand the demon until, because we hadn't gotten to the exorcism part, right? You said basically he's just gotten there. He hadn't gotten to the mirror, none of that.
Yeah, it's to the end of the exorcism.
Oh, okay. So they showed the part of because when he gets the mirror and he does the mirror, and because you've never seen like quote unquote an exorcism like that in the movies. It's usually some guy with a cross or some priest. This was different. They put the mirror on it, and the guy goes in the mirror, and the mirror falls on the car. And it's like he's hanging around with a taxi cab driver. So it's like it was solid. The beginning of the movie was solid. They introduced these characters. They don't give you the backstory of them, but you kind of already, not that you know them, but you feel like you know them. It's like, all right, well, this guy's going to do this. This guy's, except the spear, of course. I had no idea what the spear was all about. But yeah, it was solid. I'm like with Andre, I'm basically saying the same thing he said. I'm just copying him and adding some words, so then it looks like I'm cool.
Well, thank you, Alan. It was very well and very sophisticated, sir. Good job. Good twist.
Yes.
All right, going over to you, Jeff. Your thoughts on the beginning of the film, sir?
I like the priest character that that sort of like introduces John into the the movie, kind of brings him into brings him into the apartment complex or whatever, where the possessed girl is, I love how the demons know him, like when he talks to the demon, he's like, "This is John Constantine." The demon knows who that is, and it starts talking to him. You know what I'm saying? Like in Spanish or whatever, talking to whatever, confirming that, the demon knows who John Constantine is. That's crazy when you think about it, because this is a fucking demon. It comes from hell. You know what I mean? There's no internet down there. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you wonder, how does information pass from our realm, you know what I mean? Down to there. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting, that I found that interesting that the demon acknowledges knowing him, at the point that he announces himself and all that. And I love that he approaches if you want to call it an exorcism, if that's what that is, I guess. I wasn't really sure what it was. But if that's, I guess, the exorcism or whatever, I love how he started it off by introducing himself to start it. That was badass. And you can kind of right off the bat, you can see Keanu trying to play the asshole John Constantine right off the bat with just his whole demeanor during the whole exorcism. He doesn't talk to nobody. He's shouting at everybody to get them the fucking mirror and everything. You know what I'm saying? He just puts the cigarette down right on somebody's furniture and shit, half hanging or whatever, letting it burn. So it's interesting. The whole shit with the cross doesn't really mean anything in the beginning of the movie. When the guy finds the cross, you're like, okay, the guy finds the fucking, the guy finds the spear or whatever. Okay, whatever. It doesn't mean anything until later on in the movie, So it's kind of whatever at first, right? You're kind of like, okay, so we got some fucking illegal immigrant over here, all right, I get it. I was like, where's Trump at, baby?
Okay. Excellent. Good to know, Jeff. All right. Going over to you, Ryan. Your thoughts, sir, on this beginning of the film?
Yeah, the whole first part of this beginning was all about like the small details. I knew right away that it was the Spear of Destiny because you could see it wrapped in the swastika flag. And that was always in history. They always said that was one of Hitler's downfalls, when he spent resources trying to find the Spear of Destiny, because that was what was going to turn the tide of World War II in his favor, was having that spear. So that small detail right there was just fantastic, that they kept up with the history into the occult of our world into this movie. Same thing as Jeff was saying during the exorcist, the exorcism that he was doing. He didn't go about it like the exorcist itself and start chanting from the Bible. You saw him pull out the keychain and he held it up to the sun and he started trying to see like what emblem was going to cause it pain before he placed it like right onto her face. It just shows his knowledge of what he's doing and kind of all the things that he's seen. And as Jeff was saying too, like when the demon was talking to him and he said, "I'm John Constantine, I'm going to send you back to hell." Obviously, you know, he has a reputation, which we find out later is down the way, why he knows about hell itself. And you could tell the demon, knowing him, he's had some friends and brothers sent back down there by John Constantine to spread the word, which he said was always his goal. You know, say hi to everyone for me downstairs. The best scene, though, was when he told Chaz, you know, park the taxi specifically here. Do not move the car. And he's like, you know what? John's not going to tell me when to move the taxi cab. I'm going to move the damn taxi cab. And then that mirror just comes out and smashes it. That was just funny. Shia LaBeouf just, he brought so much like great comedy to that role that kind of broke up like the serious tone of it all.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Yeah, there are a lot of great little details in the very beginning of this film that, unless you're familiar with this stuff, you're not going to get right off the bat. But if you are kind of familiar with that kind of stuff, you're probably going to be going, "Oh, I noticed that. I noticed that." Or over several viewings, you get those points every time you do that. So I totally understand that. There is quite a few, I feel, throughout this whole entire film, where after several times you've watched it, you pick up on things. And I think that's a very clever writing there, because every time it gives you kind of a new treat to look forward to really enjoy the film. So I get that. And I think that's a great point there, Ryan. All right. Great job, everyone. Yeah. So, I mean, just to kind of give my kind of summation of the beginning, I really enjoy the beginning. We get introduced to Constantine. We get introduced to, Shia LaBeouf's character. We get introduced to that kind of biblical, like thought process there with the spear and everything. And I think that it's very intriguing, and it really pulls you in and gets you into the film. So I think they do a really good job at the beginning here. They really pull you in. So moving on. So we find out that John is suffering from terminal lung cancer, and he ends up meeting up with his half-breed angel, Gabriel, to request an extension to his life in exchange for his soul. Meanwhile, Detective Angela Dodson investigates the death of her twin sister, Isabel, who leaped from a psychiatric hospital roof. Angela refuses to believe her sister, a devout Catholic, would commit suicide and condemn herself to hell. Watching security footage, Angela hears Isabel say Constantine and seeks out his assistance. So we'll stop there. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? Learning about Constantine's cancer, being introduced to Angela Dodson, aka the amazing and gorgeous Miss Rachel Weisz. And of course her twin self of herself, playing her twin sister, and then kind of the meeting of this Gabriel and John trying to get more time on his life, and overall kind of the thoughts process on did the sister really commit suicide, and is Angela onto something here? And this time we'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah. When when again, you see the priest character a little bit like at the end there with John, you know, right when he wraps up The Exorcist. I really like that character. I love all. It's a well cast film. A lot of great secondary characters. It's unfortunate so many of them die so quickly in the film. But you know, when it flips over to the Rachel Weisz part of the film, it's a really solid, you know, opening for her character. She comes in really well, I think. I like her introduction. It's a little bit confusing at first because she wakes up. You start off with her dreaming, like, you know, like sharing dreaming with her sister, you know, like committing suicide and everything, right? You know, we learned that she's a cop and all that. You know what I mean? And obviously, when you see the sister commit suicide on the roof, you know something is going on with that because she has that like burn on her wrist or whatever, you know, that mark, that same mark that the guy with the spear has. You know what I'm saying? So right there, you know, like that something's going on. Like, you know, like this is not as it seems. You know what I mean? And it's really well done. The video that shows her saying Constantine's name, I think she only says it once. And then when she goes back and watches the video again, it's not there, you know? So it's that part was pretty cool. I liked that they went in that direction of her, like, you know, her watching the video and hearing her say, the sister say Constantine, you know, it works out really well for the movie, for the plot.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Good job. All right. Going over to Andreas. Your thoughts, sir, on that section of the film.
Yeah. I mean, first we got double twins with the wonderful and beautiful actress, Rachel Weisz. So that was always great to see. And I was like, best movie ever. We got two Rachel Weisz. That's great. And then the one, fortunately, went down. And that's really I think this is where the plot moves forward because, you know, now we have the eyes. She becomes Angela, played by Rachel Weisz, the other sister, who is the comp, is our eyes to this universe. And so she's learning about how this universe and this whole like gods and demons really work. And so like we learned that through her eyes, and it's you know, she's a relatable character. I like that she's a comp. I really like she has some chemistry with Reeves. I like their kind of, you know, somewhat beloved romance in this film, as like they take their time to develop their relationship. And I think I think that really helps the movie to be like organic and just didn't like it's one of those movies where they nailed the relationship very well, and I think they had chemistry. And then of course for Constantine, this is from the comic books, you know, where Constantine did have lung cancer. I don't know like how long he had over there, but like it's kind of cool that they use that because they using one of the storylines from the comic books called Dangerous Habits.
Hellblazer.
Yeah, Hellblazer. Yeah. And yeah, you know, I think it shows kind of like there's a ticking time for John, and like you can see why like he wants to like be in the good side for God, and so like he's doing these good deeds of like doing these exorcism against the demons. And I did agree with a couple of you guys who brought up before that I didn't mention that it's cool to see that the demons know John. Like that's something we don't get sometimes with these you know, occult or supernatural things. So that's kind of cool to see these demons know about this hero. One of the coolest, you know, speaking of Rachel Weisz, you know, it's kind of funny to see rewatching this film. I forgot that there's so many people that are from other superhero things. You know, obviously Rachel was in Black Widow. Tilda Swinton as Gabriel. Of course, of course, Doctor Strange. She's in that.
I forgot to mention her. I think this movie like made her back then almost.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this movie made her.
Yeah. Well, this and I don't know, you know, this movie, The Chronicles of Narnia, came out the same year. So like this was a big year for her. She's a great villain. I like her plan. Like I get why she hates the humans, and like when you get into the film, like you understand why she wants to start the apocalypse. So I like Tilda Swinton as Gabriel. I think her introduction to the film is really great. By the way, I love the 2 red chairs. I don't know, that was like a reference to The Matrix with the first film, but that was very funny to see that. I forgot that she met John early on, Angela, and he was rude to her when she didn't hold for the elevator. So that was kind of cool. And then see that again in the, I guess, library or church, something like that. Just to wrap up, the father, we're way past it, but the father who John is good friends with, he's Jonathan Kent for the new Superman film. When I was rewatching this, I was like, oh yeah, that's Mr. Kent. So overall, this is a really good section. Like, this is where we okay, this is where the plot moves. It's like, this is where it's really important to pay attention to. And yeah, it's really good. And it just gave us more to understand what this world is about and what's going on,
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Pop Culture Guy. All right. Moving over to Ryan. Your thoughts, sir, on this section?
Oh man, there's so much to unpack. Number one, Tilda Swinton is like the perfect asshole. Like when she wants to be, she just is so smug. Which is crazy because I think she was Lucifer on Sandman on Netflix, which I believe Sandman, Lucifer, and Constantine, it's all technically a shared universe for Vertigo, which was the imprint of DC Comics that launched this. So it's really great to see it all come full circle. But that conversation that they have in the church, and he's trying to buy more time, that was a great storyline. The one thing you don't pick up if you don't know about the comic books was when she mentioned, do you remember the botched attempt with that little girl? In the comic books, that was huge because the first person John Constantine ever failed to save was a little girl named Astra that he summoned another demon and couldn't get rid of, that ended up taking her to hell. And that really weighed on him. That was like the whole reason why he does what he does. That little brief thing that they mentioned was just so good to hear. And I think when they were talking too, and she said, when she had like that smile on her face and she's like, there will be no extension on your life. You can't work your way out of this. And when you die, you're simply just going to go to hell, John. So just face it. And pretty much just sent him right on his way.
You're fucked, she said.
Yep, pretty much. She said, no matter what you do, there is no such thing as buying your way into heaven. And that really sets up, I think, important for the movie, because you could tell why even continue at this point? Why are we even going to have a Constantine movie if nothing he does is going to save his life? He's going to die at the end. The Rachel Weisz, though, she was like the perfect person to put in this movie. And I was a little worried because she plays such a serious character, and so does Keanu Reeves, but her little like humor, like dry humor, combined with just his serious tone, just completely complements each other. And I think that was just a great casting choice overall, especially acting with yourself as you and your sister to kind of get the plot going. So yeah, this was a great part. There are so many little things that pop out.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Going to you, Alan, now. Your thoughts on this section, sir, leading up to Angela going to get assistance from Constantine.
I liked, basically everything you guys said, but I liked that when they introduced Gabriel, her eyes shined. So that was the giveaway. Like they had through the whole movie that they were, they were different because the eyes, when they first show her eyes are like silverish. So that was cool because you were like, well, I didn't, when you watch it at the beginning, like in my case, first time, I didn't get it. And then when he starts talking to her, and then it was, the dialogue was good on it. It basically everything you guys said, except they never really say what he did that he was going to hell for. So you have no idea what he did. It's like, well, wait a minute, he's saving all these people, but he's still going to hell. What the fuck did he do? And when he gets mad and he throws the book, he throws the book on the floor, and it, everybody in the church. That's when they show Rachel Weisz. It's like, do they realize that she's an angel? What is she in the church? Is she, they don't explain none of that, but it's cool because it's important. In other words, these characters that we're introducing to you guys, these are important characters. We're not telling you what they are, who they are, or anything, because you really don't know who Gabriel. I mean,
No.
Gabriel.
Alan, I don't mean to cut you off, but like I get what you're saying, dude. Because like even the chick sees her. He sees Tilda Swinton, like she's there in real life.
Yeah, they see. They know, but it's like who they introduce her to us, and we get to see who she is when she's talking to Constantine. But if you're looking at Rachel Weisz's character, she's not seeing what we're seeing. She's not seeing that she's basically telling Constantine, you're going to hell, and then Rachel Weisz is having the conversation with the priest, which I guess the priest is her brother, right? Is the priest her brother? Because tells her, hey, she's
it's just a priest.
It's an old friend. It's just
it's an old friend, because the priest is
Yeah.
like, dude, I can't do nothing about it. She's going to hell. She killed herself. It's like, so they add the Catholic things to it, because Catholics believe, if you suicide, you go to hell. If no matter what, that's how what Catholics believe. So they introduce that, because they really don't. When they introduce the church, they don't introduce what religion it is. They don't. It's perfect. I mean, it's a perfect storm. It's like everything that's happening. They're introducing Constantine's character. You realize he's not as strong as he is at the beginning of the movie when he does the exorcism. You realize he's vulnerable because he's not doing this because he wants to exorcise the demons. He's doing this because he wants to go into heaven, but he's going to hell. Why is he going to hell? They don't, it's like, and then they introduce her character, and she's basically trying to get her sister into heaven, just like he's trying to get into heaven. So it's like it's a perfect storm, and so like Cyber said, it's very important. This is a very important part of the movie, because this is what Andre said this. This is what pushes everything in. This is what brings all the characters are coming together now. All the main characters basically are coming together now, and this is the beginning of the race. Let's put it that way.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. Great job, sir. Great eloquent to everything you just said. Great job, sir. Anyway, I agree with Andres on here that yes, this is a very pivotal moment of the film that really gets you, into the pace of the film, gets you into the meat of what this film is about, and it definitely brings us to kind of a whole new level of what the film is really trying to go for and where it's the direction it's going in. And, we get, like everyone has said, we get some really great introductions to some great characters. And just like Jeff was saying, some of these great characters do come in and get brought in, but then they get killed off so quickly. It sucks. It's like they don't get a chance to really shine in this film. And I agree with that. There's definitely a lot of characters that don't get enough screen time that they should have gotten more. And they all, work out really well. For majority of their part, and unfortunately, we don't get enough of some, but overall, I think it's a really great cast that was included in this film. All right. So moving on from there, so after Angela goes to get Constantine's help, he initially refuses the help until he witnesses demons pursuing Angela and fends them off. Constantine then performs a ritual to see Isabel in hell, confirming she killed herself. At the morgue, Constantine's friend Father Hennessy discovers a mysterious symbol on Isabel's wrist, but is killed by the half-breed demon Balthazar. Constantine and Angela later uncover that Hennessy carved the symbol into his own hand for them to find. Also, Angela discovers a hidden message from Isabella referencing a chapter from Hell's Bible. So we'll stop there. Quite a bit to unpack there too. I think it's hilarious that this priest's name is, or this father's name is Hennessy. Like, were they referencing like Hennessy the drink here? Because that's what it made me think of. Like, I wanted to drink some Hennessy while I was, talking about Father Hennessy. And then, of course, all these great names that they include in this film, like Balthazar and stuff like that, they all very like Catholic biblical names and stuff like that. So I think they do a good job of bringing that Catholic kind of thought process into this film. So going around the table, what are you guys' thoughts on this section? Going from, Constantine at first refusing to help Angela, then decides to help her, and then finding the hidden message from Isabella, and then, of course, the symbol that is carved by Father Hennessy into his wrist. Let's start with you, Ryan, this time.
Yeah, probably one of the most memorable scenes, probably the top 3, is when they're walking outside and he sees the light start to flicker, and then he sees her walking, and then he like runs up to her. He's like, "Just keep walking with me. You're being followed by, I think, like some soldier bugs." And he's like, "You're gonna have to come with me really quick." And they go right into the front of that pop-up window with like the Virgin Mary, all the lights dim, and he's like, "You're gonna want to close your eyes for this." He puts the rag and does like a holy water with like the dragon fire. And then in an instant, as he blows the fire everywhere, you just see hordes of these bug creatures that he just incinerates. And it's just crazy because he's like, "Oh, don't worry. No, a lot of people aren't used to seeing dragon fire. You'll be all right." He's like, "So why don't you tell me what did you need my help with again?" The other second best scene I think is when he explains to her how he's going to take a trip to hell to get her the proof. When you see his feet in the water, and he says, "Give me your cat," they're always 1 foot in, 1 foot out of both worlds. And he just starts staring into its eyes, and he just goes like this ruined LA hellscape where he finds her little band, and he's fighting away with all the demons. And then he just quickly hits like the water on his chest to bring him back. That was just, for 2005, that was a cinematic masterpiece. I don't know how they thought to pull that together, but that was just so well done. Such a beautiful production. The other part that really sucked was that Hennessy part when he discovers and he's killed by Balthazar. I would hate to be in a liquor store popping handles of alcohol and feel like I'm still drying out on my throat to drown in alcohol. What I really liked was the little narration, though, that came over it, where you see the paramedic with the wings come out and you see Balthazar walking with like the demonic background. And they kind of highlight that our world is just consumed by these angels and demons. For me, this is the part that really set the tone for the movie.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yeah, definitely. I mean, those are some great points there, especially the liquor store sequence there with Pruitt Taylor Vince and him like trying to drink to satisfy his thirst and stuff like that, which, that's definitely something you don't want to happen. You don't want to have like alcohol dry you out that bad. I mean, that's pretty bad, but yeah, that scene, was really intense. And one thing about Pruitt Taylor Vince too is that he has one of those conditions where his eyes are moving all the time, so that added to his character, I feel, and made it even more like crazy and creepy and horrific. And so I think that actually played to their advantage and actually made the character even more interesting. So yeah, I agree. I think that, yeah, this definitely is a very pivotal point, especially when Balthazar comes into the picture. All right, moving over to you, pop culture guy. Your thoughts on this sequence, sir?
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. This section is visually cool. I mean, I like, the visual LA is basically hell. So that's really cool. And I thought that was really neat. This section is like really important because, as Alan brought before, like why is the reason that Constantine is doing this, and why, hell is after him and all that? It's because this section, after he does the trip to hell to like retrieve something from Isabel, he goes with Angela to have breakfast, and he kind of talks about how when he was a small kid, he was able to see the undead and like or the demons on like in public, and that caused him to like go in this direction of like I cannot handle this anymore, and like and so he commits suicide. And in this universe, apparently, and it's discussed in the film, apparently this is a sin, and that is the ticket for John to go to hell. So that's why he's trying to do these good deeds now, because he didn't know at the time that the commit suicide thing is actually a bad thing, and that's gonna go take him to hell apparently. So that's why he's doing these good deeds, and so that's why this section is really important to understand John's motivation, but also you can understand like how he got to this point of like becoming the occultist person. And so it's because of seeing these demons. And same thing with Angela. You see that if Isabel was probably the same person, that she saw things just like John did, but you know, probably just no one believed her and like what she was seeing. And then you see Angela. Does Angela see things as well? We don't know yet, which we'll get into later on. But so I think this section is really important to see who's John as a person, and like now that he sees that these demons is after Angela, it intrigues him, and just like any other like detective story, it's like okay, I need to do this case now. Like I'm on, let me see what's going on. And then of course, just wrapping up the whole father getting killed by being suffocated like that. When I saw that, I was like freaked out about that. I thought that was horrific, and just seeing the Balthazar walking in so coolly and like just picking up water, drinking the water, and like seeing him to die, it was like whoa, like just like really brutal. And I started to hate that guy. I was hoping that like, come on, John, kill that motherfucking night, demon, fucking bastard. And of course, I know that at the time he was giving clues for John about the symbol that he's going to research and all that. It was real to see him doing the cuts. I was like, wait, what are you doing? And it's like, yeah. So I was sad that he was gone, but at least he helped out to give like some clue for John to follow and like what's going on, with Angela and this whole case that he's now involved with. So overall, really important section. You get to know the motivation, but you see cool world building of the whole gods and demons thing here, and visually it's stunning. And Saber brought up how timeless this. Like one of the great things about this movie, it has this gothic, like very nihilistic kind of style that's similar to the Matrix. With the color palette and all that, it makes it feel like you're in the real world, but like you're in this like other alternative city, and I think that's one of the things that makes it very timeless, especially the apocalypse imagery is so like visually stunning. So yeah, very great sequence, great action scene, and I like the designs of the demons. They're pretty cool.
Excellent, thank you, sir. All right, Alan, your thoughts, sir, on this section?
I like what they did with Hell. It paralleled our universe, our world. It was like Hell was our world, except Hell. I like the idea that he could travel to Hell, because he's like, well, let's go find out, So you're like, all right, what is he gonna do? And one of the better lines was when he talked about heaven and hell. And Angela goes, well, I don't believe in hell. And he tells her, he says, well, hell believes in you. So, that was like, whoa, what's going on here? That's, I know I'm backtracking. I started from the back and going back. I looked at it as when Gabriel told him that he was going to hell, I looked at it like he had given up. So he had gone back to his thing. He sat down. He, smoked the cigarette, put the cup on the spider, and he had given up. And when she showed up, he was like, just get the fuck out of my face. I don't want to deal with this shit. And then he noticed that something was following her. It brought his attention back, and he's like, well, what's going on? And that brought him back into the game. I think he had just given up. He was like, this is it. I'm done. And it brought him back into the game, and he did the like Ryan said, man, that part was awesome when he puts the Holy One and does that, and it stays on, the light stays on the Virgin, before and then when he goes to, when I have a black cat like in the movie ISIS, and and it looks, you can see the cat, and then everything slowed down, she's closing the door, this is in 2005, like Cyber said, and the effects on it were like, and when he's running, trying to get out of hell, and he just jumps up, and you see everything just trying to grab him, and he hits it was like the effects itself were like, they did a great job to be 2005, and it was basically the storyline, like Ryan said, man, it just kicks in then. Now it's like, all right, there's something going on, but still, in my case, I had completely forgotten about the spear. By that time, I had completely forgotten about the spear. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Okay, her sister's in hell. It was like, it had me in. It had grabbed me, it had taken me in, and I was already in there. I had, it's like, it was like, this passes the point of no return. This is like if you're taking off on a plane, this is it, man. V1 speeds are past. We're taking off. And that's how it felt. It was like, this is good.
Excellent, sir. Thank you very much. Once again, very, very solid. Very solid performance, sir. Really well done. All right, going over to you, Jeff, to round out this round. What are your thoughts on this sequence, sir?
Are we going all the way up to where he visits Papa Midnight at the club?
No. We are going to when when she finds out the message from her sister that references the Hell's Bible.
I think we passed it already.
We haven't gotten to the Papa Midnight yet.
We haven't gotten to the club yet?
No.
Okay. All right. That's weird. Okay, yeah.
He went one time in the beginning.
Yeah, he already went once. Didn't he already?
Yeah, it was before we met Angela, I think.
Yeah, he had been there already once.
Yeah.
Because that's how you know the demons, because of the eyes. Because everybody's eyes.
Because that's how he met. That's how he met the demon guy, the half-breed demon that killed the priest. Balthazar.
Yeah.
Isn't he the singer from Bush?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Gavin Rossdale from Bush.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's it. But yes, Ira, that does happen. The Papa Midnight scene with the club and all that, that happens before this part. And sometimes these Wikipedia synopses can be weird. But
I'm going to be talking about that in a moment, so don't talk about it yet.
I'm not talking about it. All I was going to say is just that based off what we're just talking about, I really like the director explained what he wanted hell to look like. He said that when he got to work with the illustrators, with like the graphics people, he wanted hell to look like what an exploding atomic bomb looks like that just continues forever. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine that, like an atomic bomb exploding forever, in one space with people still moving and there's still being wind and objects and all that. And that's kind of like the vision of what they wanted hell to look like. And it looks like that. It does. It's really cool that Keanu can go down to hell, it's dope. And it's cool that Angela is able to find out that information through the room, through the breath, signals or whatever, and the fact that there's an actual Hell's Bible, that's really cool. That whole concept that there's a Bible in hell, that I find that concept really neat. So that's it.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so I mean, this section here, I mean, is for me is very interesting. The fact that we find out all this information, we find out about the symbolism, we find about the Hell's Bible, we see John go down to hell, we see him talk to another version of Rachel Weisz's character as Isabel, and stuff like that. So I mean, we get a lot of great things I think in this section that are just really entertaining, really fun, and just really advance the story very nicely. So yeah, like just like everyone said, this is a really great portion of the film as well. All right, so moving on from there, before being killed by Balthazar, Constantine's ally Beeman reveals that the symbol represents the Antichrist, Mammon, Lucifer's son, the chapter foretold. With the help of witch doctor Papa Midnight, Constantine induces visions to locate Angela at the psychiatric hospital. Alongside his apprentice Chaz Kramer, Constantine arms himself and assaults the building, battling through hordes of demons to Angela. Constantine and Chaz seemingly exorcise Mammon from her, but Chaz is killed by the unseen force revealed to be Gabriel. So we'll stop there. So what are you guys' thoughts on this section? The death of Chaz, I was pissed about. I was so pissed because that was such a great character, and I was like so just utterly pissed that they killed him off. I was like, are you kidding me? You bring in this great character and you kill him off? I was so pissed.
Wait,
but anyways,
Cyber, did we skip the part where Angela goes to hell in the bathtub and all that?
I don't know. I'm just reading what Andre sent me. That happened, I believe, a few sections ago, if I remember correctly from watching the movie.
Yeah. I put everything in the chat, so it's in order. So
yeah, so they just didn't talk about that scene in what he sent me. Yeah. So I'm assuming, I believe, if I remember correctly, that happened right before they go to when Constantine's looking for her at the psychiatric hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that way I could talk about it.
Yeah. So when I talked about the witch doctor Papa Midnight Constantine induces visions to locate Angela at the psychiatric hospital, that includes that portion. All right. So your guys' thoughts on that section leading up to the unfortunate demise of Chaz. And this time we'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Chaz has to go so quickly. He seems like kind of a useless character for the first 3/4 of the movie, and then when they actually make the assault to save Angela or whatever, he kicks it into gear and he's actually pretty effective. So it's pretty depressing seeing him go down. Watching them gear up, and seeing John use the chair, over at Papa Midnight's, and seeing him fight Papa Midnight was really cool. Papa Midnight was a cool character. They could have done a whole TV show just on that club, with Papa Midnight. You know what I mean? They could have done a whole show just on that. Seeing Angela get blown out of those walls, sucked out, you know what I mean, looked really cool. That's pretty much it.
All right, sir. Thank you. Alan, your thoughts, sir, on this section? Uh-oh. Either you're muted, sir, or your thing is not working.
I'm muted.
There we go.
Okay. I like I'm gonna go a little bit longer because when they went into the bar for the chair, there was a line that Papa Midnight told when he was like, I want the chair, and he came in and acted like he was a badass. And he was like, aren't you the guy, that went and fought all these people? And he was like, and I am, and I was, and Papa Midnight stops him and says, you were the John Constantine. In other words, you're not that guy no more. You're not you're not that. So that was kind of cool because later on, it has nothing to do with the movie itself, but later on when you watch the anime, then you really see how badass John Constantine was. compared to the way he was in the movie. He was strong, but in the anime, he's like does all kinds of shit, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes it gives him more, gives this character now a lot more credence. At least for me, it does. I knew Chad was gonna die when he walks in, and he basically at the end, when he was walking out, he gives him a card and says, come back for membership. That's the kiss of death. In a Hollywood movie, that's the kiss of death. So it was like, yeah, he's gone. I like the way they use the chair, the effects on it. He comes ins and out and gets to see him. Guess he's the devil's son. The devil's son comes after him, grabs him, and he's like, midnight. He pulls him out. That effect was cool. There was so much to it that we missed. We missed the when he's looking. There's so much going on. I got lost.
we missed the death of that one guy. His helper or whatever died.
Yeah. We missed the cliff notes really aren't giving the movie justice, because there was so much that happened between him going to the.
Are we referring to Beeman's death?
Yes.
Yes.
I mentioned that earlier, and nobody apparently was paying attention.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Well, Beeman, you should have said the bowling alley guy, and then we would, yeah, because it was they were killing his friends, so he's getting angrier and angrier in the movie. He's just getting madder, angry. I guess madder is the word. Is that a word? I don't know. But by the time he goes in to get the chair, he's already pissed off. Because basically all his friends are dead. They killed the priest. They killed the bowling alley guy, which was Beamer, I guess his name is.
Beeman.
So it was like it didn't feel like it was gonna climax yet. I guess that's a big word. But but it was getting to that point, when he went for the chair, and they the way, like you said, the way when they took her out, the effects, it was, I don't want to say it was horror movie like ish, but it was not like a scary type of feeling, but it was like an uncomfortable, like, am I watching a horror film? The way the music kicked in and all the effects happened at one time. It was good. It was really good.
All right. Thank you, Alan. All right, Ryan, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that section leading up to Chaz's demise?
Luckily, I wasn't attached to Chaz because I knew from the comic books he was going to go. The comic books always said the one way to hurt John Constantine, since you can't hurt John Constantine, is just kill everyone around him. So like Game of Thrones, I knew I'd get attached to no one very quickly. I think the best part of the scene, the final fight was good, and the way they prepped for it. But watching John Constantine put on those holy brass knuckles and just punching the skin off of Balthazar's face, and then literally putting the shotgun right up to his face and just blowing it apart with like that one winking eye piece just sitting on the floor. That was just fantastic to watch him get his and just watch him shatter into a million pieces.
Yep.
I do agree with the Papa Midnight getting his own show, and that was the best part about the NBC show. Papa Midnight was a lot different character because in the comic books he was a villain. He was not a good guy. So it was nice to see this take in the movie because it kind of changed things up. But you saw a little bit of that Papa Midnight come out when John rushed into the club and said, "I need to use the chair." And he said, "You come into my house under a neutrality and you demand this from me." And he like takes both hands and just like sticks them right into Constantine's ribs. Before John's able to kind of convince him, like, how do you preach neutrality when you're about to let this event happen and it's going to completely overshot this whole neutrality bullshit that you're preaching? That was just great. And then going up to I think they're kind of at the hospital, and before Chaz dies, putting the holy water in the sprinkler system, and John just goes on a warpath of just killing everything in that hospital was just fantastic. There was a little more background music. That scene would have been just complete for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Good job. Yeah, I mean, the whole Papa Midnight character is a very interesting character. I agree there. And to give him some more like solo time and something would have been great to have seen, especially with this iteration of the character, which, as you know, Ryan has just mentioned, him being a villain in the comics. If you're familiar with the more comics, you're familiar with him being more of a villain. So, I mean, this iteration, if you're not familiar with the comics and you've only seen this iteration, you're going to absolutely love that character. So I'm sure that those out there that were comic fans, I'm sure were kind of like, oh, well, this is a different take on the character. So, you know, I'm not familiar with the comics at all. So I always enjoyed the character of Papa Midnight. I thought it was an interesting character. And yeah, definitely, I would have thought that this is what the character was always like. So it's nice to hear that differentiating terms of how the comic is versus the film. All right, Andres, your thoughts, sir, on this section?
I mean, like, this is where we're really getting the movie rolling. I mean, like, this is where I was like, oh my god, batshit crazy stuff happens. It's like, yeah, we're really getting into like as the climax is like coming, which is crazy. I mean, I agree with Alan. You know, like there's like so much going on in this film, but it kind of just slowly kind of gets put together in a very organic way, which is kind of cool. Like as you say before, you know, it like you kind of forget that the spear is like the MacGuffin of the film, but then when you know, honestly, the friend of John, you know, what's his name, Mayhem, or the bowling guy, you know, he talks about in this like devil Bible, which is crazy. I love that concept that there's a devil Bible. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna talk about Satan and all that. And you know, he explains that how the spear of destiny is gonna bring in a sentient son into the real world, and like that was like, oh, okay, so okay, now it makes a lot of sense why the spear is like it's shown bits here and there because it's an important thing to, I guess, bring him into the world. And by the way, his death also shocked me. And like when he has something was not like something is not like it's not like right, and then you know, honestly, he cuts the coal, and then all of a sudden the bee comes out of his eye. It was like, oh my god. And then of course you see like the full death, and it's like, oh my god, so brutal. I mean yeah, like it's almost like a horror like kind of film, and the deaths of these friends that John knows is like kind of brutal, and you know, shows that you know the villains are not gonna, you know, take, you know, prisoners. So you know, as Ryan say, don't be a friend to John. You know, he's gonna bring death. Yeah, and speaking of another comic book character, yeah, Dr. Midnight or Papa Midnight, great character, played by another comic book variant actor, Jimmy Mahush, or I cannot say that. He's the actor from Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the wizard from the Sham films. He's a great actor. He's amazing. I think his role here is really great. I think this version really sets up the version of the Midnight from the short-lived Constantine. He was in the Batman, Batman Cape Crusader. He's the one that helps that version of Batman to stop the Judgment Ghost. That was really cool. I was surprised they used him there. That's you know, instead of Constantine. So he's a great character. I like him. He's another good expert of, you know, the supernatural, and you see in this film he knows about everything. You know, he's the balance between like the humanity and the supernatural, and that's very unique. And that's what his club is. Like his club is kind of like the Penguin, like the iceberg one, but it's for supernatural like crime or, you know, stuff, you know, underneath the humans, you know, and that's really cool concept. Yeah, and I like how he helps John. He knows John as well. So, you know, that's kind of cool. It's like John Wick. Like everyone knows John Wick. Like this is predate John Wick. It's like everyone knows John here. But yeah, so after, you know, John goes, you know, to Papa Midnight to find out where, you know, after he attacks Bavasar, which was really cool. And obviously we don't know who took Angela. Now he needs to find her, and it was cool how he uses the chair finally, because he brought up I need the chair a couple of times in the film, so that was a good payoff. And then obviously when you get to the hospital, this is my favorite scenes when we finally see the forward use of that gun, and after Chad puts the holy thing in the water. It's so fantastic. Great action scene. Like, I just love it. I mean, the gun is so cool. I mean, it's golden and just so beautiful. And yeah, I think Chad, I kind of knew he kind of is going to die. Like, the fact that he wanted to be part of this, like, he wanted to be more involved. And like John just like constantly tells him, like, he tries to push him away so that he doesn't get involved because people are going to get killed. And guess what? He gets killed. But he did help out. I mean, he did save the day. Like, that's at least one thing he did. He at least sacrificed to save the world. So that was a good thing. So overall, fantastic, third, like, entering the climax. We don't know yet who's the villain yet. That's the big thing, which we'll discuss now. But I just love it. Like, great action kills. Reese is just top form here. Just love this section of the film.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Good job. Yeah, so this is a very pivotal sequence in this film that really leads us to kind of getting towards the climax of the film. Most definitely. It's leading us towards the real villain, who's really behind everything, and kind of, who isn't behind anything, and kind of like how things are going to play out and, help save the world, basically. And I think they do a really good job of leading into that, giving us a really solid story, really great acting by everyone, and great action throughout this whole entire film. A lot of people don't realize, but Chad Stahelski, who directed the first 3 John Wicks, and also did Bullet Train, or was a part of Bullet Train and stuff like that, and was Brandon Lee's stunt double on The Crow, actually was the stunt coordinator for this film. So all that action you saw in this film was actually his stunt coordinating. So he's been working with Keanu since The Matrixes, because he was his body double in several of the Matrix films as well. So, Sad and Keanu have had a relationship for many years, and you can see how great a relationship they had in their fighting choreography and stuff like that, even in this film. So I thought that was pretty cool. Little tidbit. Also, an interesting thing is this movie was made for $100 million. That's how much it cost to make this film in 2005. That's pretty impressive for 2005, I feel, especially with the amount of CGI that they did with this film and stuff like that. That's a pretty big budget. That, of course, that including the amounts of the actors and stuff like that at the time, which, of course, Keanu Reeves being such a high demand actor at that time, along with Rachel Weisz being very popular at the time. Peter Stormare was becoming pretty big. After being in Minority Report and then Armageddon, of course, he became very famous because of Lev. And then you have, of course, Tilda Swinton, who was becoming up and rising. She actually, there were several films that she was in prior to this that really kind of started getting her going. Such a film is called About Adam with Ewan McGregor. And they have this torrid love affair and she gets naked through a majority of the film. So that's really, I feel, one of the reasons why she became so popular. But at the same time, I feel like this was such a big budget for this film that didn't seem to be a huge production, but really was. It ended up going on to make almost 231 million worldwide on the box office. So it wasn't a huge success, but still it made some money, which was really surprising. So I thought that was some interesting little tidbits about it. But yeah, getting into this, like, basically kind of the finale of this film, this is when it really gets really good, I feel. This is like one of my favorite parts of the film. But after Chas's death, resentful at God's favoritism for humanity and forgiveness for even the most wicked, Gabriel intends to unleash hell on earth. Desperate, Constantine commits suicide by slitting his wrist, knowing that Lucifer will personally come to collect him. Time pauses, and Constantine convinces Lucifer to intervene and stop Mammon. So we're going to stop there before we get to the final climax. So what are you guys' thoughts kind of leading up to that final climax? What do you think about it really kind of revealing that Gabriel really is kind of the main antagonist or bad guy in this. What are your thoughts about the introduction to Lucifer and Peter Stormare popping up, and him and John's kind of conversation there, him getting him to step in with Mammon? Starting with you, Alan.
It was good. I mean, obviously good. The Gabriel part was cool because going back to the bowling guy Beamer, I guess, wasn't going back. When he quoted the Hell's Bible, he said that he was going to need a divine assistance. That the Devil's Son with the Spirit needed divine assistance for it to happen. And they were like, well, who's going to give him the divine assistance? And it turned out it was Gabriel after all that, was helping. So it wasn't shocking like, oh my God, but it was more like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Because, by that time, I had forgotten about Gabriel because there was so much going on. I mean, the fight scene itself, I mean, before Chaz gets killed, I mean, they're all just standing there looking at him, and he gets on the chair and real calmly gets on the chair and he's like, it's the fire thing, and it comes down and they're all like, oh, no big deal. And then they're like, holy shit, holy water. It's like, oh no. And then that's when it gets good because he uses the shotgun thing so that part was, that was good. I mean, the fighting scenes on it were good. With the way the camera followed him, the way Angela was looking, still, she was, the way they made her look, and it was, I mean, everything was solid on it. I keep repeating myself, but I mean, it was just good. There's really nothing bad to say about it. It was just good. It was just good.
All right, thank you, Alan. As he has mentioned, apparently it's good.
It's good.
It's good, people. It's good, and Beamer, not Beeman, people. Beamer. It's Beeman.
Well, he got killed by bees, so
So, anyways, thank you there, Alan. Great job, sir. All right, Sir Jeff, your thoughts, sir, leading up to Lucifer saying he'll intervene to stop Mammon.
Well, that's not really much of there's not much there really. I mean, it's a cool reveal that it's Gabriel that is like, the antagonist or whatever, in the situation. Just because she's such a cool character, and seeing John make that move to kill himself to bring the devil there. The guy that plays the devil is outstanding. He's great and everything that he's ever in. And he was great as the devil. And I'll save the rest of my thoughts for when we wrap up to the end of the film. Because I mean, that's where we're at basically right now, is at the end. So I'll wait.
Okay, sir. Mr. Andres, your thoughts, sir.
This part was like, okay, like this is where the pieces came together, and it's like, okay, the villain is Gabriel. That makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of these like third acts and villain plots always falls apart when you think about it. This one, however, it doesn't fall apart. It's like it makes a lot of sense. Like they were very consistent about who was like they were consistent about the build up to like why we need the Spear of Destiny, why we need Angela, stuff like that. And so and getting the real of Gabriel makes a lot of sense. As Alan said before, it wasn't like a big surprise. It was like either that or Lucifer, right? I was surprised it was Gabriel. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. How she viewed the the world and all that. I like her motivation. It's like very clear. And you got Tilda Swinton, just chewing the scene so well. Like if you have a good actor just delivers that lines and dialogue good, I'm on board, And then Lucifer, I was like, Oh man, Lucifer. When I saw the feet, like with black like ooze, I was like, what? Who the hell is coming? It was Lucifer, and then I recognized him because I was like, oh, it's the guy from Armageddon and Fargo. I was like, oh my god,
Russian space station.
Yes. Oh my god. I was like, oh my god, he's in this movie too. And I was like, oh my god. And he's so good. He's like so like chewing the scene here. He's like, oh John, you're the only person I come down here to collect. You know, because like this whole film, like we're teasing us about this. Like was it Papa Midnight brought up that, you know, Lucifer like has been talking like, oh, he's gonna come to you. You're the only person he wants to come to collect, you know, as a soul. And like the fact you're seeing that is really cool. And I like they pay off. Like this is the second time that he had to like commit suicide to like, you know, to just get Lucifer, get his attention. So like the fact that the thing that got him to see these creatures and become this is like he had to do it again to like to get the devil.
Yes.
You know, so that was the like a great payoff, and that made me really like the film even more. That's the, like as Ryan said before, the details again just so incredible. I love their conversation, and I like how he said, look, here's the deal, stop here and you get me, that's it. And that's what happened. So overall, like this is where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm like, this is a great film. They're paying off, and that's good because sometimes movies don't pay off their plot lines. Like I don't want to bring up another movie, but like Ghost Rider is a good example of like they like fucked up their plot, and it's like, oh my god. Where here this movie is like they pay off everything, and that's great.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. All right. Moving over to you, Ryan. Rolling out this finale of this question. What are your thoughts, sir?
So as we were just talking, I mean, I've been waiting to say the line, the devil's in the details for this movie always. It's so great when Tilda Swinton comes down as Gabriel, because we saw her last time in the church. She had a suit on. She was all prim and proper. She came down. She's wearing patient bracelets going up her wrist. She's in like a modified prison, like psychiatric outfit. And you could just tell like her hair's a mess. Like she's just completely unhinged at this point because her plan is about to come to fruition. And she would just rather see hell on earth than have to bask around like humans any longer. She hates us with every ounce of her being. And she makes that clear. The other part of the details, and again, Peter Stormare, there's nothing he can't do. What's really impressive is you could tell that it's a big, because he's coming down, the black tar is coming off of his feet, but he has this pure white suit on. And I always assumed there was the symbolism because he is the morning star, the fallen angel. So like he still has that power, like that archangel, like he's still, you know, of a high degree. But you could tell he comes from a much different place now. And with the tattoos and everything, it's all together just so fantastic. The accent that he gives Lucifer, everything about it was just such a great, how they pieced it together for what comes next. Just fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you. Awesome job, guys. All very well done. All right. So basically coming to the conclusion of the film, Gabriel attempts to smite Lucifer, but is unable to as Gabriel no longer has God's favor. Lucifer burns Gabriel's wings away while also banishing Mammon back to hell. He then reluctantly offers to restore Constantine to life for his assistance, but Constantine instead asks that he send Isabel to heaven. Basically, then, you know, Lucifer picks him up, and, you know, they kind of have a discussion, and he's kind of angrily talking to him, and he ends up ripping out the cancer from his lungs and still agrees to send Isabel to heaven. And so then basically after their encounter, we see John at the hospital again, and getting x-rays done, and his lungs are completely healed. And basically that's how the movie ends. So what are you guys' thoughts on the conclusion of the film? What did you think about the special effects there when, you know, Steinmeier or the Lucifer pulls out the cancer from John's lungs? And what did you just think about him, like, kind of sacrificing himself even more there, trying to get Isabel in heaven too, as well? Just your overall thoughts on that conclusion of this climactic film. And I'll start with you, Andreas.
I mean, again, this is completing the arc for John. Like, he did a selfless thing. It's like, it wasn't about him. It was about, giving Angela the closure she really wanted. Just having, like, to know that Isabel went to heaven instead of hell, because the whole, suicide thing was forced on her. So the fact that John, like, did a very normal thing, as a hero, that's a good thing. And so that's why when, Lucifer is like, oh, this is done, and like he pulls the chair away, is like grabbing him, and then all of a sudden, like, he becomes this heavy rock, like breaking this like floor to like almost like Superman was crashing down to the floor. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then like this portal, like you see in heaven, I was like, oh my god, he is going to heaven. And like Lucifer was like pissed off. I was like, yeah. And I love this whole detail, and like John is so happy because it's so erotic now that he he's cured, and he puts the Malefica on Lucifer, and like I love that. That was such a cool thing. Just putting the Malefica on the Satan himself, and yeah, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna give you the extended time because I want you, and so I was surprised he took the cancer out, and I was like, whoa, and so that's what happened. And I was happy for John that he survived it. So like he completed his arc, he became a hero, he did the selfless thing to save, not save, like he did save Angela, but she gave the closure to Angela by putting Isabel to like heaven in the proper way, not in, hell, So yeah, so he proved something like right. And it was cool also that Lucifer burned out Gabriel's wings. That was amazing. Like and then like the whole water weighs it up. That was cool. And I was like, so fantastic climax. Like just I was like so happy and like so cinematic, But yeah, so that's all I have to say. It's a really good ending for the film.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Going over to you, Jeff. Your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, Tilda Swinton just holds it down the whole way. She's good all through it. And then Lucifer just kills it there at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like one thing I wonder is like with all this crazy shit going on at this hospital or whatever, why aren't there any cops or anything there or like emergency vehicles or anything like that? Like there's all this crazy shit going on, like where's all the emergency services? But I love how the movie ends with a dude punching a chick in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like punching a bitch right in the face, like and telling what's her name, that's pain. Get used to it. You know what I mean? That was nice. Like, you're not gonna see many movies these days that are gonna do stuff like that, like, like out there on screen. Although in the Olympics we had some big broads beating up some U.S. chicks, knocking them out and shit, hurting them and shit. So kind of similar. But anyways, no, it's a great ending. Really, really a great wrap up for the film. There's that slight romantic tension at the end between Keanu and Rachel Weisz, right? Where they're almost gonna kiss, and then she like falls, like she like drops underneath or whatever, and like they kind of go their separate ways. But there's that moment, you know what I mean? Like, which is weird. Like, I don't know why they even did that. Like that wasn't necessary. Like they were already buddies. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have to go that far, yeah, it was cool seeing. It was cool seeing the special effects, the getting the cancer sucked out of John looked really cool, like just the whole everything that actor that plays Lucifer, everything he did with that his scenes was just outstanding. Just outstanding. And you know, I don't know. It's a really good movie. It's a good movie. It's good all the way around. It's good from beginning to end. It's like I said, it's unfortunate that so many secondary characters die so early. You know, but the movie ends up okay at the end. And you know it wraps up well. You know, I love how Gabriel is still talking shit to John right at the end. She's like, I can see you're already improving. You know what I mean? And all this shit, you know, like, it's an interesting movie. It's a really good one. I enjoyed talking about it.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, going over to you, Ryan. Your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion.
Yeah, Peter Stormare, he just plays such a great Lucifer, especially when he walks in before Gabriel's about to release Mammon, and he just like goes over. He's like, "Oh, you know, I'm not gonna let my little offspring come up," and he just like banishes him back to hell. But the best is when Gabriel's like, "You can't be here." She's like, you're gonna get smited." He waits for it, and then he smiles at her. He's like, "Uh-oh, looks like someone doesn't have your back anymore." That was just fantastic. The best though is with him and John when he like lights the cigarette in his mouth. He's like, "Oh, here, you want to use your wrist? Oh, those are a little hard, aren't they?" He lights it up for him. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna have such a fun time," and he starts dragging him back. And as Andre said, you can tell he's so pissed off that John actually did earn his way into heaven. And even with this sliced wrist, he finds a way to just flip him off. And you know it's bad when Lucifer is so pissed off that he's like, "You know what?" And that's when he puts his hands in and pulls like the lungs out. He's like, "No, I'm gonna give you enough rope to hang yourself, because I know if I leave you on Earth, you're gonna do something stupid again. You're gonna come back to my domain. You're not gonna get to go out from me." And again, same thing as Jeff said. You could tell Gabriel hates being a human, because she's like, "You know what? You want to do something good? Why don't you kill me right now? Send me right to be punished. This is great." Because she doesn't want to spend any waking moment as a human. He's like, "Absolutely not. You're gonna love every second of this," before he just knocks her out. Rachel Weisz thing, it was really good to see, because I think he finally realized that he cannot have any friends, especially after losing Chaz. And because he tells her too, she's like, "What am I supposed to do with the spear?" He's like, "You can't tell me that. I can't know where the location is. You have to stay far away from me so that no one could ever get to you through me, or I know where the location is, so we could just avoid this conversation." And I really like too, because in the beginning of the movie, we meet him in Mexico lighting up a cigarette, and they recreate the entire first scene, but instead of a cigarette, you see him putting the Nicorette gum in his mouth, showing you that he has started to make some changes because he does want to be a better person. The whole movie, everything just wrapped up in just a nice little bow. I'm really happy I went back and bought the DVD, because the after credit scene for this movie was so rewarding for this movie. And if they do make the sequel, that's a big scene. If people have not seen it, they should definitely go back, because that's definitely going to be part of the sequel. But overall, I loved it.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, Alan, your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion of the film.
The dialogue between Lucifer and John, every line that man says was good. You know, from when he comes out and they're like, "Well, how's the family?" He's like, "Oh, busy, busy, busy." You know, and he's all excited. He's like, "Oh, I got all this stuff planned." You know, and then when he's like, "Well, you know, your son's next door with Gabriel," you know, the faces, expressions, you know, everything. I mean, he just lands it right. He just, like I said, and then, you know, when he's pissed off, when he, you know, it was just the dialogue was just good between them both. You know, because basically it's a preview. In other words, Lucifer is like, "Yes, I got John Constantine finally. I'm gonna start fucking with him now." So he you know, "All right, I'll let you smoke a cigarette, but you can't light it up, or you can't, you know." he just and like Ryan said, they put a bow at the end. They basically get him. His life has changed, but one thing she Rachel Weisz's character learned was she kept that necklace on this next time because that's what he did when he went and act like he was gonna. You think they're gonna kiss? All he's doing is putting the necklace back on her. I guess that necklace she didn't have it. If she had the necklace, I guess I don't know because Gabriel was the one who took her, right?
Yeah. Well,
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, but the thing was, she took out the amulet with the coat, so that's how she got caught. If she was wearing the amulet, she could have been safe and not taken.
So that's that's a big thing there, that she has that, and like Ryan said, the end credits, that adds a completely different. It actually changes the movie. And at the end, it does. It changes the ending completely. It's but they finished it up right. It was solid from beginning to end, like Jeff said. There was no. I started thinking about it. There's really not a scene in it that I didn't like. Not a dialogue or anything that I thought it was like. Sometimes they just fuck it up. They have one line or something, and you'll be like, they shouldn't have put that in there. There was really nothing in there that it was like, nah, I can live with that. That's good. Everything they did in there was fine. It's they kind of, it's sad that he lost all his friends, but they ended up winning at the end. Or did they? It's kind of like, but yeah, it was good. They ended it right.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Good job. All right. So that's the end of the film. So let's go around and get everyone's rating on this film. What do you guys give it? Starting with you, Ann. What would you give it?
Oh, I give it a 9 out of 10.
Excellent.
Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Ryan?
This is easily a 10 out of 10. They just, again, I don't even know where to begin to tell you what I didn't like. He didn't have the classic Hellblazer suit. That's the only thing I can point out to you that was bad about this movie. Everything else was just top notch.
All right. Andreas?
Yeah, I'm losing my voice. I'm with Ryan. 10 out of 10. This is such a enjoyable, fun movie to watch for 2 hours. It's so the pacing is so good. If you're not a fan of the comic book character, this is actually a good introduction to the character. They did care about the character, and it's cool that they brought in certain things from the comic books, and they were faithful to it. So that was kind of cool. I totally forgot when Ryan brought up the girl, his first case, he failed to save that girl, which I think the TV show brought up. I think we saw, and I forgot that this movie did mention that, and yeah, so the fact that they did that, it shows that they care about the character despite the drastic changes they did with this character. So that impressed me, because a lot of times when we see these comic book movies, that when they change, it's so bad sometimes, because it seems like they were afraid, or they didn't think through the change. Here, this movie, they were thoughtful, and they care about the character, and they made a badass movie that I can rewatch over and over again. So it's a 10 out of 10.
Excellent. Jeff, what would you give it, sir?
9.5, sir. Very watchable.
All right, and I give it a solid 10 as well. It is a fantastic film. Hands down, great cast, great directing, great writing, great vision. I mean, this is what really, for me, really got me into the character John Constantine. It made me want to research it, made me want to think about it, and who this character is and all that, because they did such a damn good job of giving us a really solid character that, everyone has mentioned, this is a very well-driven character film that really makes sure to pinpoint the John Constantine storyline, the John Constantine presentation. It wasn't a called it wasn't called Constantine, and then it was more about the other characters. It actually was about Constantine. So I appreciate that, and I think that makes it such a great film. So I have to give it 10 out of 10. All right, guys. Great job, everyone. Always a pleasure to be talking about a great film like this. I will hand it over to Mr. Jeff, and he will take it from there.
Most definitely. For folks out there, do not forget that we are a podcast. So, we are on all of the podcast distribution platforms. If you like us, maybe, maybe you want to try us out in audio form instead of video form, check us out. Andre's a pop culture guy.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Ryan, Alan, great to see you guys. It was fun tonight to review Constantine. So recently I just posted my Andreas Pop Culture Retrospective / review on the Snyder Cut. So this week was like Snyder Cut stuff to do. So this Sunday I'm gonna post, actually, very funny enough, Constantine movie tribute for his 20th anniversary. I thought it would be when I saw the schedule, I was like, oh, perfect. So I'm very excited to do next week some Constantine content. So watch out for that. I have a movie in plan for a live stream review for the next live stream. So, but not yet. I'm gonna talk to the boys to see if they were willing to do this. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I will do a trailer reaction later this week for Jurassic World Rebirth. Just get reviews. This recently did some shorts. Check that out. I do short reviews for movies as well. I think my next one is going to be I don't know what movie it's going to be. I think something like that, or the movies I've been with you guys. So maybe Constantine, something like that. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining me tonight. It was really fun, and very excited for next week stuff like
that. Alan, you are next, sir.
Yes. Basically, again, thank you for having me on the podcast. Black Lincoln Collective Comedy Podcast. Basically, we're three guys that we've been friends forever, and we used to hang out on the couch and goof around, and our wives kicked us out, so we decided to do a podcast, and that's what it is.
You got Blackhead Friday.
We got Blackhead Friday. Yes.
That just makes you go, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. We start talking. We don't have an agenda, and we don't have a script. So we don't have like meetings and stuff. We just get together and start talking about stuff.
They just talk shit.
Yeah, exactly. We just talk shit.
They don't invite me over anymore. Ever since that one time when I came on and I fucked that chick right before the show, and she was like right in front of the camera and everything. Remember, Alan?
Yes, I do. Remember.
Like half naked and everything, and I just got done banging her. And I was like, hold on, guys, I'm going to come on. And I'm like all half naked and everything, like trying to jump on the StreamYard. Ever since then, I've been blacklisted by the Black Lincoln Collective Podcast.
Yeah. Well, every third sentence was anal sex. So, it was.
I never told you that story, Ryan. I was hitting something one night right before I was about to guest on their podcast, and it dragged into it.
Yes, it did drag into it. Yes, it did. Even the dog was like.
Anyway,
yeah, that's what we do. We just talk shit and have a good time.
Hey, that's right. They're good people over there. Freddie, Matt, Alan, good people. Alan's been coming on and doing movie reviews with us. Whenever his power's working.
Yeah, whenever my power's working, whenever I can do it.
Ryan, Beyond the Cape podcast.
Yeah, what's going on? Great to be here. Love this movie. Love being on our weekly show. We're now part of the Uncensored Nerds Network, so it's us, Comic-Con podcast, Flings Gaming, Ben Templesmith, who is the artist for 30 Days of Night. He's doing a podcast under our network. we just talk to a lot of indie creators, people in the industry. If you like comic books and you want to stay up to date, we try to cover a little bit of everything, kind of show people as much as we can about different comic books. You always see our microphone, you know where to follow us.
Nice.
I can vouch for the podcast. I've listened to it. It is good.
He's been on it.
That's right. I've been on it, so there you go. You should definitely check it out. Most definitely. Who's left? Cyberneticshark, sir. It must be you. Cyberneticshark, what do you got, sir?
All right, folks. So if you join me as a moderator on here or on the panel, you can check out my solo content. You can find me under Cyberneticshark. I can see there my most recent dropping there is the Until Dawn trailer reaction for the upcoming Until Dawn based on the video game movie, and happens to have Peter Stormare in the film because he voiced a character in the video game. So funny that we're talking about Peter Stormare as Lucifer and Constantine. I happen to drop a mini trailer reaction to that. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. If you haven't seen my review of A Complete Unknown, that's my most recent review of the Bob Dylan biopic. Basically, it's about his earlier career leading up to him becoming this great solo artist. And Timothée Chalamet kills it. He did a fantastic job. So if you haven't seen that film, definitely check out the review of it. Really fun. Most recent mini reviews.
Did he get nominated for an Oscar or something like that for that role?
Yes, he has. As you can see there, my most recent mini reviews are for the films A Different Man, which is Oscar contender, and It's What's Inside as well. Love Hurts as well, too. That was one of my most recent little mini reviews. Great film. If you like action-packed and love Ke Kwan, definitely a film to check out. Different Man, that's a whole other story. Hopefully you did not pay to watch that film because it was god-awful. But anyways, those are my most recent mini reviews. We'll be having more stuff for you guys up soon, more reviews, more trailer reactions, stuff like that. I'll have my Jurassic World Rebirth trailer up eventually here soon, along with more reviews, my review for Love Hurts and so forth and stuff like that. Keep on tricking, keep on watching us here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge as well. Keep on checking out all these other great podcasts. And also, as Mr. Jeff mentioned, check out our podcast if you want to hear just an audio form, want to listen to something on the rides to somewhere, definitely check us out on Spotify and all those other great listening platforms. So
we're on everything. We're on everything. We're on Apple. We're on everything. We're on every single podcast distribution platform there is. I swear. If you Google it and look, we're on all of them. Apparently, we're even on, Sirius XM radio or whatever somehow. I have no idea how, but we are. Anyways, guys, thanks to everybody for coming on tonight. Ryan, Alan, Andre's a pop culture guy. Cyber, great job tonight. Great pick on the movie, of course. This was one of Cyber's picks. So we've got Life next Friday. On Monday, we'll be back doing Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man with episodes 5 and 6. So Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man has been so far. Not kind of 50-50. It's not bad. It's not good. We've been I think enjoying it so far. But we'll see everybody on Monday. We'll see everybody on Friday. We got Daredevil coming in March 4th. Daredevil. So we'll be covering that here pretty soon. Everybody take care. God bless. Have a great weekend. Be safe. And we'll see you later. Peace.